everybody. Welcome to the show. My name is Bader Milligan. I'm here at San Diego Comic-Con, and I'm sitting across from Patrick Horvath. All right, he is the artist and the writer, the overall mastermind behind the hit horror comic series Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, and its sequel, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, which is available right now in collected edition and trade paperbacks, etc. Patrick, it is such an honor to be sitting across from you today, man. How is your San Diego Comic-Con going so far?
Well, thank you for having me, and so far so great. It's been we're the Friday of the weekend, and it's like we're getting into the full on con experience right now. We're tapping into the weekend warriors that are starting to show up. You have preview night, and then Thursdays. Those are honestly the smarter folks maybe that want to get in without it getting too crazy, and they hit all the special stuff before it gets sold out or whatever. But yeah, so far so great. It's been a blast. I've been able to sign a little bit, and I have panels coming up on Saturday. We're going to the Eisners tonight.
Nice, yeah.
And it's been fun and exciting.
You know, speaking about Eisners, I can finally say this in person to you. Congratulations on the nomination.
Oh, thank you so much.
Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring is nominated for Best Limited Series. On the topic of awards, I'll get back to the Eisners, but rewind almost a year ago, New York Comic-Con 2025. I attended my first award show, which was the Harveys, and got to witness you win. Which was it? Book of the Year?
Yeah, we got
which
Book of the Year.
I think was was it the last award of the night? I think it was. I mean, it was so cool to see that in person. Not only was it my first award show, but to get to see you win a book that I was following and in love with, and then your energy. I mean,
oh, thank you very much. That was a trip. I really didn't expect that. And I'm still I was really. It took a long time to wrap my head around it because you're up. I mean, there's all these. The weird part about this is this is it's my first book, but I've been a long time reader. So having being nominated in a category with a lot of your heroes is a real mind trip. So I was just imposter syndrome was firing on all cylinders, and I was just oh my God. I mean, it's been wild though. It's just to see where this book's taken me has been incredible, and it really never ceases to amaze me.
I gotta ask, man, because I think I was reading a press release for the upcoming Halloween special, which we'll talk about later. But I think it was Tim Seeley had a blurb in this press release, and he was saying, I was reading, Beneath the Trees Nobody Sees before anyone else did. I got an advanced preview of the first issue, fell in love with it, and it got me thinking, hearing you talk about being in a room with your peers and idols and people you look up to. I guess what are some of the your Tim Seeley's, but who else are you thinking? Who else has approached you as a colleague, as a peer, as a someone that you admire that you were maybe taken aback by? Oh my God, you've read it, you like it?
Well, the big ones for me were it just seemed out of the blue, Cy Spurrier and Scott Snyder were just early champions, and I was just what? I didn't know they were given preview. You know how it goes. I mean, apparently it had been handed out and then passed around, and I just didn't know. And so but then I would just have people reaching out about it, and I was just oh my God, thank you so much. This is incredible. That was sort of that, and early reviews that were really well received were the first sort of indicators that it was there's something kind of special going on. And it honestly just feels like a really charmed existence of how this book's been pushed out. And it's just never said, it hasn't stopped. I'm just oh my God, okay. Wow, all right, well, okay. Let me just process this. And so it's been, but it's, I don't know, at a certain point, I almost have mind blow fatigue because I'm just I don't even know what to do. I'm just sort of, what do you want to say? I'm just kind of letting it happen at this point. It's just I have to stop. I really got to stop getting in my head about it and just accept it.
Be in the moment,
and very, very grateful. But it has been wild to just have folks whose work I've read and really, really, really loved, and then just to have them reach out and be hey, this was really great. Good job. I'm really excited for this book.
Now we're here talking about Rite of Spring, and I'm curious, when you were at what point writing the first series did you know or have an inclination that I've got a second series in me. I got a sequel in me. I guess what was the genesis for Rite of Spring?
Yeah, it popped in when I was working on the third issue of the first arc, and there's specifically like this scene that takes place in a funeral for one of the first murdered victim that we see in the town, and specifically the town, like not from Samantha but from Nigel, and as for Martin the goat, and the town is grieving Martin, and Samantha's there. Because she's like she has to show up, right? And she's part of the town, but she intellectually, like emotionally, has no idea like what anybody's going through. Intellectually, kind of understands like the idea that this town is grieving for Martin and that she's caused a similar type of trauma for like family members of victims from the past, that she's essentially disappeared, and it's arguably worse because nobody has had really probably any closure, right? They just disappeared. Nobody knows what happened to them. So I'm like, well, yeah, I guess like if I was going to do a follow-up, like it would be like her dealing with a family member from like, let's make it the duck because we all know the duck, and like what would that be? You know, what would, then like I wanted it to have a time jump to let that compound and sort of like kind of, you know, twist in sort of this weird obsessive way, like this family member, which ends up being Monica, the sister of Danny the duck. And so like, it's so funny to say this stuff, and it's like it's the heaviest duty stuff, but it's like Danny the Duck,
Monica Brewster. Yeah.
But anyway, it's it came around then, and honestly, it was like I had the idea for like a second and a third, and it was just it kind of came. I was like, oh yeah, second would be this, and then oh okay, well third would be this then, and it kind of showed up in my mind pretty quick, and then I think it was like I was finishing up or working on issue 4 when the first issue came out, like actually came out into stores. And then at that point, it was just like becoming obvious that like people were into it. And pretty soon IDW was like, hey, if you have any ideas for like a second one, like let us know. We'd love to keep doing them. I'm like, I do actually. Like, and then I gave them the pitch for it, and they were just like, yeah, okay, let's do that.
Up for 5 more of these. You know, on the topic of the fan reaction, I was curious, is there a common sentiment that you're getting from fans? Is there like a particular issue that people are excited to talk to you about?
I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit of everything throughout. A lot of it I noticed was the shock at like how heavy duty it got. And I think like I think the grounded violence part of it caught a lot of people off guard. And that was sort of the intriguing part of it for them. Like you know, it's fairly anatomically correct in the gore, and how it's not like played off for fun. And it's definitely like it has to be. I wanted it to be problematic. You know, I wanted it to be sort of upsetting, and so that it wasn't like cool or like done in like sort of a sly kind of way or something. And I think that reverence for it in that sense caught people off guard. And so that's kind of the thing that comes up. They're like, it's horror, but it's like, it's also somehow palatable in a weird way. And I think that there's that juxtaposition with the animals, there's some magic in that recipe that allows people to sort of identify cross-culturally, like they're able to identify with these things. Like it's doing fairly well, like around the world as well, this book is. And so like I think a part of that is like every culture has like an anthropomorphic story thing that they grew up with. It's fairly common. And so like that, I think that nostalgia, and then also the grown-up perspective of like this horrible, you know, trauma that's happening to them, is like those are the two big ones that's just resonating with everybody.
Speaking about Rite of Spring and the time jump, I do want to maybe explain to the listeners that there's a 8-year time jump between the first series and the second series, Rite of Spring. We go from 1986 to 1994, and what I found, what really kind of got me early on in Rite of Spring is the focus around like early internet. You know, I think in the first issue, the very first kind of splash title page is made to look like an old, you know, early website, you know. And I mean, I love the way that you had the credits at the bottom, you know, with view of the paint little icon, you know, signifying you as an artist.
That's all Nathan Wittick, by the way.
Oh, wow.
The designer.
Genius. I love it.
Yes.
And it really sets, I think, puts you right into the tone.
And if you look at the newspaper newspapers from the front. That's all Nathan,
Oh,
like
wow.
in the first arc. And he just came up with that. And he was like, I remember like my editor reached out. They're like, hey, could you just give us like a list of all the businesses that you've got like in town? Because I would start populating like the streets with like, well, this is like Ace Peacock, like men's haberdashery. Like this is like, there's like the Moose Market or Mooseman Market. Or like different stuff like that. And so I ended up, it was one of those things where like it started showing up as a newspaper and then it started evolving.
Yeah.
And in a way that I wasn't expecting. And it was just so like well thought out. We didn't talk about any of that.
Wow.
But he really just kind of like helped create this thing that I started influencing me, and I was working off of that. And then to the point where like in issue 6, we see the newspapers that Nigel has, or like we can see like the newspaper. And so it's like, it's one of those things where I was like, let's keep doing this.
Yeah.
And then when it came to the second one, we had a talk, and I was like, well, it's going to be set up like early internet days. So I'm thinking like you sign into AOL online, you got the disc, like that's whatever that page is. And like that page would like evolve. Right.
And I think it's a smart way of bringing in another aspect to like this murder mystery. Right now we're focusing on Monica Brewster. She's looking for the killer of her brother. You're bringing in this like modern day phenomenon, which is like the internet sleuths. I guess for me, it just spoke to me being a kid that grew up on the internet.
Yeah, well, I mean, that was why I did it. Like I grew up in like I'm essentially like spoiler. Like I'm just like rehashing my life. Like I like grew up in a smallish town. In the 80s, like in the 90s, the internet came to town and it was a weird thing. And like, you're just like, you're interfacing with the world larger now. And like, and our world's shrinking, right? Everything feels like it's like not so far away anymore. And then there's just this, and then you have a weird subcultures that show up throughout that you can connect with. And it felt like that very much like had to be a part of it.
I can literally hear the AOL dial-up sound right now. I'm like, is that my memory or someone trying to log into the internet right now? I mentioned, Monica Brewster being one of the new kind of like central focus characters. Obviously, you still are focusing on Samantha and her trying to like, get away with things. Monica is, I think, such a cool character because she's obviously mourning. She's also driven. She's methodical. She's grieving. And I was curious, like, what frame of mind or what was it like writing these two kind of different characters? Monica, who is, mourning, but also like on this quest. And then you got Samantha, who's a little more methodical, pragmatic, low key.
Yeah, it felt like it very, very much tapped into my life living in Chicago for several years when I was doing Monica, and it felt like it just felt like somebody that had been like twisted and like kind of ground down by this existence and this pursuit, and she sort of like reestablished herself existentially as like just this person trying to find out what happened to her brother. Like that's all she just that's everything is to that end, and she has no like life or purpose sort of outside of that, and especially at this point, like she's very much like, cut away like all the other aspects of her life, except for this thing. And it felt like somebody who was so like sort of cynical, and also like you need to have hope, but then you're also sort of punishing yourself for being hopeful, because it seems so impossible, like the task. And at the same time, you just need to know. And it was all that stuff sort of swirled around that like it just like it all kind of felt like the perfect sort of like tone for the book, and having her set it with like that first issue, it just kind of all like, I don't know, it all kind of fell into place really well.
I like that you mentioned tone, because I think that is a very key strength of the series is your mastery of like this tonal shift where 1 minute we're like living in this cozy lived in like neighborhood that we town that we all kind of like wish we were living in, where we knew our neighbors and like there was like the local shops, but then at the flip of at the drop of a dime, it's like it gets dark quick, it's intense, and I was curious, like, how do you handle the tonal gear shift artistically from Samantha being a charming shop owner to a sadistic cold killer?
Yeah, it's I mean, well, thank you for all the kind words, and I'm glad to hear it's working. A lot of it is intuitive, and I'm just kind of going with what feels right. With Samantha, and especially that first arc that we did, like a lot of that is that to me, the fascination was having such a stark contrast between the two. And then the idea that like when you evolve it into Rite of Spring, it's like it's a meaner book. Like it just is. Like I think there's also sort of like the illusion of safety has totally been shattered in Woodbrook because of what happened. And that goes in hand with a lot of how there's a fallout effect from that first book. And that's kind of what like Rite of Spring is like, that fallout effect. Like a lot of the stuff that was set in motion from it, we're watching that play out through like Pauline and Lewis, and like how they're dealing with the trauma of like losing Charlie, and like how you have Birdie sort of basically becoming like an introvert, like a major introvert, which is very in line with him being a turtle, and then in him like coming out of his shell, so to speak. And then also with Monica, like largely like that's the main driving force, and that's like the fallout from what happened with what Samantha did, and like how this is kind of colliding with Samantha in the town, and like by choice, right? Like by Samantha reaching out and like kind of bringing this to an end, so to speak.
I want to shift gears and talk about you mentioned was it the graphic designer editor?
Nathan Wittick. Yeah, he's the designer.
I'm glad that you brought him up, because it feels like it's a small team, but a purposeful team. Like everyone plays a very you're playing writer and artist, graphic designer, and then we've got Hassan Otsman Elhau, whose lettering plays. I mean, he's the best.
He's one of the best,
right? I think he's literally nominated for an award.
He's nominated again this year, and I mean, like it's for many books, but I'm proud to say mine's one of them.
But his lettering plays such an integral role in establishing like the tone and the voice of Woodbrook and all of the residents. As a solo writer and artist on this project, can you talk a little bit about the collaborative process? Like, what does that look like when you're handing off pages to Hassan?
It's very much like, I always feel like I hand off pages of the art and it comes back as a comic. You know what I mean? Like I'm obviously like I've got sequential art and like a layout, and it's that, but like it's not the whole thing until I get it back and I see what Hassan's done. And it's always like, it's so funny because there'll be panels that I didn't realize were going to be my favorite panels when I like finished a page. You know what I mean?
What are some examples?
Oh man, my all-time favorite in Rite of Spring is like, it's so small, and like spoiler. Okay, it's in issue 6, and it's when it's after Charlie's come around the back and Chip's gone, and Chip the Fox is gone, and Charlie comes around back, and Samantha finds the truck's like not where it's supposed to be, and then she sees that Lewis is in the truck, and he's having this whole moment of like, who are you? Like he's for the first time like realizing like what a monster Samantha is, you know what I mean? And then she's like, I can't let you take the truck. Like I need the truck, and she's gonna shoot at him. And so he floors it and leaves, and she shoots, and she hits, instead of him, she hits the rearview mirror. And it's this moment of like, it's this panel of him reacting to that. And I think I had like a gasp or something like that, but instead it's that startle and freak out, and him having the moment of like being like, oh my God, like all that in that moment. And Hassan's just like this little like scribbled like expressive thing. And it's so perfect that it's just like one of my all-time favorite panels, and like everything I've done so far. It's just like everything in that moment, he nailed it. You know what I mean? Like it's like such a cherry on top, and it really just like, it makes the moment. It's incredible. And he does touches like that all the time. Like he's mentioned in interviews too, like I'm not like, this isn't a discovery or anything. The way part of his magic is he'll just throw stuff out. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, he's also like super cool to be like, no problem. You know what I mean? Just thought it'd be, I just had an idea. I wanted to run it by you, and you get to see it in that first pass in the lettering. And like they're like 99.9% of these things are awesome. Yeah. And if anything, like I'll be like, there's a tiny little thing in the background. Like if I could just move a little bit over here just to not quite hide it as much or whatever. But like, it's like, they're always great. They're always fun choices. And it's like performance. To me, it feels like performance of the characters, and how they're like whispering, they're shouting, they're sad, whatever. Yeah. Like he gets all of that. He has such a nuanced approach to all the lettering in that regard that like it's just a real treat. I'm very spoiled in that I got him on my first book, and that he said yes to it. And like I said, he was like top of the list because I was like, yep. Like, I mean, who knows if I ever get another shot? Like, can I please have the best? You know what I mean? And so it was, and there are also many, many great letters. But Hassan is definitely one of them, man.
I was looking at the press release for the upcoming Halloween special, and there was a Peach Momoko cover that stopped me in my tracks.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, he's got a Peach Momoko.
Yes.
It's like, all right, Patrick's made it. Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees is here. Like,
I don't know. Again, like, it blows me away, dude. I had no way of like even thinking that would ever be a possibility. Yeah. And then Ryan, who's the director of sales at IDW, had mentioned, he's like, hey, so Peach Momoko wants to do like a thing for the Halloween thing. I was like, shut up. He's like, she really likes the book. Awesome. And I was like, that's incredible.
But I mean, overall, I bring up, Peach Momoko because I think the variants for Beneath the Trees, whether it be the first series or even the second series, the variants that you've done, Peach Momoko, I think I saw an amazing Jay Gonzo variant.
Oh, yes.
I'm curious, aside from those two, which artist interpretation of Samantha or anyone in the Beneath the Trees universe has particularly impressed you or made you like, wow, I didn't even see that angle of that character?
Oh man, there's a ton of good ones. Like honestly, the Jay Gonzo one was like I wasn't I didn't again like it. I kind of just see the stuff, and then it's like a total treat. And so his was really a pleasant surprise. I didn't even know he was doing one, and it's really righteous. And then I was also like blown away by another. This is from last year for the San Diego and New York variants. They had Jared Cullum do them.
Oh wow!
And there that was also a surprise. Like I literally saw them. I was like, "This is Jared Cullum," because I know his work because I'm a fan. And he is also just like a master watercolor artist. And to see his work and gouache, he works in gouache too all the time. But his stuff, his approach to it is always like I was like, oh, that's a good one. Like he's a teacher as well. And like it shows in the sense that he has a very advanced understanding of the medium. And it's like so fun to just watch somebody like, I mean, like I feel like I'm just getting shown up like constantly with these covers, and it's awesome. It's a total
it just
treat.
Pushes you up.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But that Jared Cullum was like a total surprise because I was just such a fan for a while, and nobody told me anything about him doing anything.
Wow.
And then to get him on the Halloween special, like he's doing his own segment for the Halloween special. He's writing and painting.
On that topic, can you talk a little bit about what we can expect from the Halloween special? Because this is like a unique one shot. I know you're enlisting some friends and colleagues to also jump in here and tell the story. What can people expect from that? Who's on the project?
So it's let me run through. It's Che Grayson with Matt Emmons. It's gonna be James Tynion IV with Tyler Boss. It's
lethal combo.
Yeah. It's Jared, as I mentioned, and also Tony Fleece and Dave Wachter, and it's gonna be it's an anthology, so it's a series of stories. Takes place a couple years after Rite of Spring.
Oh, nice.
Kids that are teenagers at that point are sort of sitting around the campfire around Halloween, telling spooky stories about, Woodbrook, basically. And it's gonna be. Listen, Halloween's my favorite season. It just felt like the perfect thing to do for like another Ashcan project to do in between Volume 2 and Volume 3. And so it was just I don't know, man. As soon as people joined on and they said yes, I was like, oh my god, yeah, okay, cool, we're doing it.
That's like, man, and I mean, for you to have, I can just tell from your energy. I had a chance to talk. Shout outs to Kim as well as Greg Katzman. Like, the energy
they're awesome
that
team from
they
IDW.
the entire IDW staff that I've had a chance to interact with, the energy that they all exude about this project, it's got to be really nice to have had and continue having this support from a publisher like IDW. Like, is there anything specifically that they've empowered you that you didn't think that would be possible?
I mean, it was from the very beginning. They've just been cheerleading the book, and they had all the belief in the world with this book, especially at the beginning when I was like,
I'm sorry, as a first time comic creator too, right?
Yeah,
that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
How much
Like I've done stuff, but I've never. I mean, this is my first book that I've ever really put out, and they were just 100% behind it the whole way, hard selling it that first issue, and it was it just blew me away because I wasn't expecting. I don't know. I mean, obviously they wanted to do well, and they believed in the project, and they just really put everything behind it to make sure it got out there, and to try and just get over that. That big first hurdle, like me being like, who made it? Who is this person? And so it's, and it's never stopped. Like, it's even like, I'm still getting pleasantly surprised by all this stuff that shows up at the booth here this year in terms of the plushie. If anybody's seen the plushie, we got Daniel the dog plushie with tearaway chunks. We've got awesome skate deck. They've got, and then merch beyond that too, with shirts and totes and stuff. And it was very much like it's just all like, I knew it was in the works, but to see it in reality, you're like, you guys are the best. Thank you. So it's pretty cool.
Halloween special. I know there's a third volume that had recently been announced. You mentioned plushies, skate deck. I mean, Samantha had a cameo in the DCKO. Yeah. I mean, it's like the Beneath the Trees train is going strong, man. I do got one question about, we mentioned like this is like your first like full length comic book project, but prior to this, you were working in movies as a storyboard artist. I got movie credits on Weapons and Southbound. I guess what elements of like your work as a storyboard artist, like was it an easy transition?
Yeah,
to go from storyboards to comics?
It's funny because like, and I've also written and directed stuff, and it's in my mind, I sort of like, I kind of just take in the comic and execute it as you would like a production, in the sense of like I'm wearing all the different hats of like a director, in the sense of I'm directing, the actors and getting a performance, but I'm also the actors. So I'm like giving the performances, I'm drawing it and trying to create it.
That's cool.
And then also there's like, I'm doing like set deck and like, the production design of like the place and what it looks like, and like wardrobe. I'm doing wardrobe design and trying to figure out like why are they wearing what they're wearing, and like props are really important, and like what are these props, and like in my head I have all these like department heads being like, oh, this but not this, and whatever.
You are the department head.
Yeah. And you're like, you sort of like, I kind of claw my way through the comic that way, and like kind of put it together with some, a thoughtful appraisal of like what these different, aspects should be, you know what I mean? So that it's honestly been helpful in that regard. And then like shot selection, it's the storyboarding's like, it's definitely not a one-to-one. Storyboarding is different than doing comics. And there's just like, storyboarding is very much like you're just trying to get everybody on the same page. This is what the camera flow is going to be like. And it's like, they're guardrails. And then in this, it's like, you're very much like, this is sequential art, and it's the thing. Like storyboards, like nobody sees, like that's not the thing. The thing's the movie. You know what I mean? And you can do so much more in a comic. So like, it definitely lent itself to like, favorably in terms of like, emotional impact through just like, visual storytelling. And just kind of being mindful of like what that is and how to best utilize it. But then you're also like sort of jettisoning the whatever hangups you have about like shooting something and be like, yeah, but this is a comic. Like we can literally like pretend like this gutter is actually like a slit throat, and like you can, you know what I mean? Like you can like really just kind of go wild with it.
It reminds me of something I think I had Jimmy Palmiotti on the show a while back, and he said something I still think about, that comic books is like the purest, most direct form of creative, delivering a creative vision. It's like, it's a smaller team.
Oh yes, yeah.
You can move faster.
It's like the purest sense of what you want to communicate.
Thank you.
And I think that oh my God, when you make a movie, like it's the hardest thing in the world. Yeah. And if you can get like 80% of your idea, that's like a eureka. You know what I mean? Like you're like, you're doing great. More likely it's like a 60% of what you're hoping to make or something. Like there's so many factors, there's so many people, there's so many problems, there's so many notes that show up or whatever. And like, I'm working on this, we've just like been talking about like, it's myself, it's designer, it's Haas doing the letters. I work with an editor, Jake Williams, and then we put it out. And it's like, and that's the team, and it's so small and wonderful and flexible and, and like if you have to work through something, even like I'm also working on Archie and Hell right now. And it's like I'm working with Tyler Crook, who's incredible. And like, in that one, like we'll be like, this layout's not working. I'm so sorry. This layout is not working. Like, I need to like, we need to kind of reappraise this thing. And then Tyler will be like, oh yeah. Here, let me like rework this part and that part. And like this is it. And it's even better. Yes. Like, and it happens like that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And it's like all of a sudden gels, and it's so much more dynamic of a team that way. It's wonderful, man. I love comics.
Yeah, the teamwork and the energy comes through in the work, man. Last question for you. Beneath the Trees Volume 1 is out. Beneath the Trees Rite of Spring. Beneath the Trees Nobody Sees Rite of Spring is also now out in trade paperback collected edition. Any last words or parting words for anyone that might just have, I don't know who would be on the fence after hearing you gush and like express like just how much this project means to you, but for anyone that's on the fence about checking out Beneath the Trees Nobody Sees, what would you say?
I would say like I mean, if you're into it, like, listen, it's a horror book. So like, if that's like the thing, I totally understand. There's some people, it's just not for them. And I can appreciate that. It does get gruesome. I will say this, and this has been like one of the best things, the biggest compliments I've ever received about the book is that like it's gotten people that aren't normally into comics back into comics or into comics for the first time, which is like incredible to hear. And now also people that are just like, they're like, you know what, I just don't like horror, but I like this book. And so it like is a lot more palatable, I think, than people might think it would be if you tell them it's a horror book straight off. And I think it's just like there's a lot more to it under the hood than most people think. I think that's part of the reason why it's so compelling. But I mean, like, yeah, if you're interested at all, like, please give it a shot. I'd really appreciate it.
There we go. Look, if my cosign means anything, absolutely go check out Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. Patrick, you've been great. Thank you so much, man.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much.
This was such an honor. Peace out.